Very good morning, student. So, in this class, we will again continue with your Digi class from trade to territory, your second chapter in your history. Fine. तो अभी तक हम हाफ हिस्ट्री कंप्लीट कर चुके हैं, बैटल ऑफ प्लासी तक. तो आगे जो है इसकी Digi क्लास को कंटिन्यू आज हम करेंगे.
An old 18th century legend has it that there was a brave Indian man who went hunting in a forest with a Frenchman. While on the hunting mission, they encountered a tiger. The Indian tried to use his rifle, but it wouldn't work. He had a dagger, but at that moment the dagger fell to the ground. None of these ruffled him, and he was still not afraid of the tiger. Without a weapon in hand, what do you think this man would do if the powerful tiger attacked? He fought the tiger with his bare hands and brought it down. Then he picked up his dagger to kill it. This man was Tipu Sultan, the ruler of Mysore, who was popularly known as the Tiger of Mysore.
स्टूडेंट्स यहाँ पे बताया गया है कि देखो जो टीपू सुल्तान था उसका फेवरेट एनिमल क्या था? टाइगर था.
Just like in the legend, Tipu Sultan put up a brave fight.
ठीक है, तो क्या बता रहे हैं? टीपू सुल्तान का फेवरेट एनिमल टाइगर था और जो उसका फ्लैग था उस पे उसने टाइगर की इमेज बनवा रखी थी और ही डेकोरेटेड ऑल हिज पर्सनल पोजेशंस विद टाइगर मोटिव्स. जितनी भी उसके पास पर्सनल पोजेशन थी यानी कि कोई भी उसकी पर्सनल चीज़ें थी उन सब चीज़ों पे उसने जो है टाइगर से रिलेटेड इमेजेस यानी कि मोटिव्स को बनवा रखा था. एंड इवन हिज सोल्जर्स वोर टाइगर जैकेट और यहाँ तक कि उसके जो सिपाही थे जो सोल्जर्स थे उसकी सेना में थी वो क्या पहनते थे? टाइगर जैकेट पहनते थे.
Just like in the legend, Tipu Sultan put up a brave fight against the British invaders in Mysore. Tipu Sultan was the only Indian ruler who managed to banish the British out of his kingdom. Tipu was the son of Hyder Ali, who was a great opponent of the British himself. After his father's death in 1782, Tipu carried on in his footsteps. He saw that the British were exploiting Mysore. The East India Company were making huge profits from trade with local merchants along the Malabar coast, where they purchased pepper and cardamom. In 1785, Tipu planned to banish the British from his kingdom. He stopped the export of sandalwood, pepper and cardamom to the ports of his kingdom, and he disallowed local merchants from trading with the company. Tipu Sultan had close ties with the French in India.
ये देखो हम ऑलरेडी पढ़ चुके हैं जो टीपू सुल्तान था उसके ब्रिटिशर्स के साथ रिलेशंस अच्छे नहीं थे लेकिन फ्रेंच जो थे उनके साथ उसके रिलेशन टीपू सुल्तान के वो अच्छे थे. ठीक है. इट इज नोन दैट नेपोलियन द एम्परर ऑफ फ्रांस intended to befriend him and drive out the British from India together with Tipu. यहाँ पे क्या कह रहे हैं कि ऐसा जो है माना जाता है कि नेपोलियन था जो कि फ्रांस का एम्परर, फ्रांस का क्या था? किंग था उसने क्या कहा था टीपू सुल्तान को कि हम दोनों मिलके यानी कि फ्रेंच और इंडियंस मिलके जो है ब्रिटिशर्स को इंडिया से बाहर निकालते हैं, ठीक है।
He modernized his army with their help and developed innovative rifles and cannons. The rocket that Tipu Sultan's army developed was much ahead of its time. The British were, in fact, afraid of Tipu's large army and weapons. Even otherwise, they saw Hyder Ali and later his son Tipu as threats and wanted to do away with them. The East India Company fought several battles with the father and the son. The battles came to be known as the four Mysore Wars. The first war was against Hyder Ali, and the second was against both father and son. The East India Company lost the first and second Mysore Wars. The third and fourth wars were fought against only Tipu's army. To gain power and face Tipu's army, the company formed an alliance with the Marathas and the Nizam of Hyderabad. Together, they attacked Mysore in 1790. This was the third Mysore War. What do you think would be Tipu's fate after facing the joint forces of the British with the Marathas and the Nizam? Tipu Sultan had to surrender half his kingdom to the British and their allies. He was made to pay a war indemnity of 330 lakh rupees, and he was made to hand over his sons as hostages to the British. Finally, the British fought and won the Fourth Mysore War in 1799. The Tiger of Mysore, Tipu Sultan, died defending his capital, setting up a camp. After the war, Mysore was placed under the former ruling dynasty, the Wadayans. A subsidiary alliance was imposed on Mysore. In this way, the British acquired indirect control of the state.
देखो यहाँ पे ये क्वेश्चन आपसे पूछ रहे हैं कि आपको बताना है कि टीपू सुल्तान ने जो है जब ये देखा कि जो ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी है वो मैसूर में अनजस्ट ट्रेड कर रही है यानी कि व्यापार जो है ठीक नहीं कर रही है, तो उसके बाद उसने क्या जो है स्टेप्स लिए, क्या मेजर्स लिए, यानी कि उसने कैसे फिर जो है अंग्रेजों के अगेंस्ट जो है एक्शन लिया। He banned export of sandalwood, pepper and cardamom through ports। ये हम ऑलरेडी पढ़ चुके हैं कि उसने सबसे पहले क्या किया, उसने जो सैंडलवुड, चंदन, पेपर यानी काली मिर्च और कार्डेमम इलायची का जो एक्सपोर्ट था उसको जो है बैन कर दिया, यानी कि अब जो है मैसूर के से जो ये ब्रिटिशर्स थे इन सब चीज़ों को एक्सपोर्ट नहीं कर सकते, ठीक है। This allowed local merchants from trading with the company, और उसमें लोकल मर्चेंट्स यानी कि लोकल जो व्यापारी थे उनको जाके बोला कि आप जो है कंपनी के साथ यानी कि ब्रिटिशर्स के साथ, ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी के साथ किसी भी तरीके का ट्रेड नहीं करोगे। तो ये दो स्टेप्स उसने लिए जब उसने देखा कि जो ब्रिटिशर्स हैं वो अनजस्ट ट्रेड कर रहे हैं मैसूर में, ठीक है। What did Tipu Sultan do to fight the British in famous Mysore wars? जो फेमस मैसूर वॉर्स हुई थी, ठीक है, उनमें जो है टीपू सुल्तान ने कैसे अंग्रेजों के साथ लड़ाई की थी। He modernized his army with the help of French। जब फ्रेंच जो है टीपू सुल्तान के फ्रेंड्स थे तो उनकी मदद से उसने क्या करा था, अपनी आर्मी को मॉडर्नाइज कर लिया था, यानी कि वहाँ पे नए नए जो है इक्विपमेंट्स और जो है आर्मी से रिलेटेड गन्स वगैरह उसने जो है अपनी आर्मी में इंक्लूड कर ली थी, ठीक है। He created a rocket design that was much ahead of its time. और उसने क्या करा था, एक रॉकेट डिजाइन भी बनाया था जो कि अपने समय से बहुत आगे थी, यानी कि उस समय तक कोई सोच भी नहीं सकता था रॉकेट के बारे में, और इसने रॉकेट डिजाइन ऐसा एक बना लिया। In the third Mysore War, what did Tipu Sultan have to give up? टीपू सुल्तान को तीसरे जो वॉर हुई थी अंग्रेजों के साथ, उसमें उसको क्या गिव अप करना पड़ा था, क्या छोड़ना पड़ा था? हाफ हिज किंगडम टू द ब्रिटिश एंड देयर अलाइज। उसको अपनी आधी किंगडम जो है ब्रिटिश और उनके साथियों के लिए, यानी कि जो उसके अलाइज थे उनके लिए छोड़नी पड़ी थी। अब उनके अलाइज कौन थे? जो आसपास के छोटे जो राजा थे। अब और इंडेमनिटी ऑफ 330 लाख रुपीज, यानी कि 330 लाख रुपीज उसको इस बार के बदले में अंग्रेजों को देनी पड़ी। His son as hostages to the British, और जो उसके दो बेटे थे उनको जो है होस्टेज बनाना पड़ा उनको, कहाँ पे? अंग्रेजों के पास। ठीक है, अब हम देखेंगे फॉल ऑफ द मैसूर मराठास। फॉल ऑफ द मराठास।
Against whom did the Marathas fight the Third Battle of Panipat?
देखो क्या ये पूछ रहे हैं आपसे कि मराठा ने जो पानीपत की थर्ड बैटल थी उसमें किसके अगेंस्ट फाइट किया, तो जो मुगल थे वो तो क्या था, इनफैक्ट द मुगल्स इनफैक्ट ज्वाइंट फोर्सेस विद द मराठा इन दिस वार। इस वार में जो है मराठा के साथ मुगल्स ने मिलके जो है लड़ाई लड़ी थी, किसके अगेंस्ट? यस, द मराठास टुगेदर विद द मुगल्स फॉट द थर्ड बैटल ऑफ पानीपत अगेंस्ट अफगान, यानी कि अफगान के अगेंस्ट जो है मराठास ने मुगल के साथ मिलके थर्ड बैटल ऑफ पानीपत फाइट।
Before the Third Battle of Panipat, the Mughal and Maratha enmity had a long history. The First and Second Battles of Panipat were fought in the 16th century, when the Mughals overthrew the Hindu Raj in North India. However, by the 18th century, the Maratha Empire had become stronger than the Mughal Empire. The Marathas had conquered almost all Mughal territory in central and North India. They now wanted to expand further into North India towards Panipat. This act would lead to their fall in an event that changed history, the Third Battle of Panipat of 1761. In 1761, the Marathas faced an invader of India, Ahmed Shah Abdali, the ruler of Afghanistan, who had been making raids into Punjab for several years. Faced with a common enemy, the Mughals at this point befriended the Marathas. The combined forces of the Marathas and Mughals faced a crushing defeat in the Third Battle of Panipat. After the war, the Maratha Empire broke up its confederacy that included the Gaikwads of Baroda, Bhonsles of Nagpur, Scindias of Gwalior, and the Holkars of Indore. The Peshwa, or Prime Minister of the Confederacy, was based in Pune, Maharashtra. The breaking up of the Marathas weakened their empire by the time the British arrived in India. The British East India Company intended to overthrow Maratha rule in India. They fought 3 major wars with the Marathas. The first war was fought between the Marathas under the leadership of the brave Nana Fadnavis, and the English under Warren Hastings as the Governor General. The war lasted from 1773 to 1782 and ended in a peace treaty, the Treaty of Salbai, which ensured 20 years peace between the English and the Marathas. The Second AngloMaratha War was fought from 1803 to 1805 under the leadership of Daulat Singh and Raghuji II Bhosle. The British at the time fought under Lord Wellesley. The British won the war, gaining Orissa and the territories north of the Yamuna River, including Agra and Delhi. Finally, the Third Anglo-Maratha War from 1817 to 1818 was fought between the British under the Governor-General Lord Hastings and the Peshwa Bajirao II, supported by the Bhosles and Holkars. This war completely crushed the Marathas, and their empire was no more. The East India Company now had complete control over the territories south of the Vindhyas.
इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर आप खुद सॉल्व करेंगे इस क्वेश्चन को और अपने नोटबुक में इसको जो है सॉल्व करके इसका आंसर लिखेंगे.
Welcome to the British annexation of Indian states. Lord Hastings, 1813 to 1823, has administered a new policy of paramountcy. According to the policy, the East India Company has a supreme power over the Indian states. Find out about Indian rulers before the British Raj by answering the question. To begin with, do you accept the British policy of paramountcy? Click yes or no. Not accepting paramountcy means choosing to be an independent state. Being independent was not easy. Tipu Sultan of Mysore was an example of a brave ruler who did not accept British paramountcy. However, this came at a heavy price. Tipu Sultan had to train his army to fight the British. 4 major wars were fought in Mysore against the East India Company. Finally, in the 4th Mysore War, Tipu Sultan was defeated and parts of his kingdom were usurped by the British. The British East India Company had a different approach of annexation in the case of a king ruler or a queen. Are you a king or a queen? Click king or queen. If you were a queen, like many other queens, your state would be annexed. The British would not accept a queen as a ruler, although their own monarchy had a queen ruler. Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi gave birth to a son who died. So, along with the Raja, she adopted a son. Upon the death of the Raja, Lord Dalhousie rejected her son's claim to the throne. The Rani was not accepted as the ruler either, but the Rani put up a brave fight against British invasion. Rani Lakshmi Bai played a major role in India during the revolt of 1857. You have seen what happened to Indian rulers who hadn't accepted British paramountcy. Would you like to see stories of rulers who had accepted British paramountcy? Click yes or no. Accepting paramountcy means you choose to be a dependent state receiving protection from the East India Company for a sum of money. Bengal was a dependent state when Nawab Mir Jafar was the ruler. Mir Jafar depended on the British for everything, including his position on the throne. He was willing to betray his predecessor, Siraj-ud-Dawla, to become a Nawab. Until his death in 1765, Mir Jafar paid the British a fat sum of 500,000 rupees every month. During Mir Jafar's reign, the British had completely taken over Bengal. The British East India Company wants to sign a subsidiary alliance with you, wherein they offer to protect you for a sum of money. Will you pay the company for protection? Click yes or no. The British did offer protection to the state, but protection was given only until you could pay for it. For example, the British East India Company offered protection to the Nawab of Awadh in the form of subsidiary forces. The Nawab had to pay to maintain the forces. Thus, when he failed to make the payment in 1801, he was forced to give half of his territory to the British. Now, Lord Dalhousie has devised a policy called the Doctrine of Lacks. According to the doctrine, if an Indian ruler dies without a male heir, the ruler's territory will lapse and belong to the British. As a ruler, do you have a male heir? Click yes or no. Without a male heir, you were very likely to have your state annexed. The Raja of Sambalpur was a victim of the Doctrine of Lacks. The Raja did not have a male heir and had not adopted a son. He therefore declared that after his death, his kingdom should receive protection from the British. When the Raja died, Lord Dalhousie promptly annexed Sambalpur. You have seen what happened to Indian rulers who had accepted British paramountcy. Would you like to see stories of rulers who hadn't accepted British paramountcy? Click yes or no. Can you imagine what would happen if your school had no uniform? There was no fixed time that school began and ended. There were no school books, but different teachers teaching you subjects in completely different ways. What would happen to the school and the students? The school would be in total chaos. In these conditions, students would not be able to do well in their studies. The Indian judicial system was in such a state of chaos at the time the British had come to India. At this time, a Hindu code of laws, the Shastras, existed. But Brahmin Pandits interpreted the laws in different ways. Also, Muslims in India wanted to practice their own law, the Sharia. In this situation, the British could not control the administration of India. So they set out to create some uniformity in the law and organize the system. The British tried to organize Indian laws by asking the Hindus and Muslims to compile their laws in a written format. In 1775, 11 pundits were asked to compile a digest of Hindu laws. And M.B. Halden translated this digest into English. By 1778, a code of Muslim laws was also compiled as per the British need for written laws. Next, the British organized the structure of the Indian judicial system. British territories were divided into the Bengal Presidency, the Bombay Presidency, and the Madras Presidency. Each presidency was ruled by a governor. The Governor General was on top. Warren Hastings was the Governor General at this time. A new Supreme Court called the Sardar Nizam Adalat, or the Court of Appeal, was established at Calcutta. Lecter was the principal figure of the district, who also supervised the courts. The collector would collect revenue and taxes and maintain law with the help of judges, police officers, and darogas. Each district had two courts, a criminal court called Fauzdari Adat under a Qazi and Mufti, and a civil court called Diwan-e Adalat under Maulvis and Pandits, who interpreted laws for European district collectors. The British declared that the law of the court would apply to all, the rulers and ruled. Also, previous laws that discriminated against non-Brahmins, who were given more severe punishments than Brahmins, were no longer applicable. The British ensured that the law would be applicable to all equally, irrespective of caste, religion, and other differences. However, the British made themselves exceptions to these laws. They were tried in a separate court. They had a separate judge. In case of criminal cases, they could be tried only by a European judge. Do you think this British policy applied in courts was just? It seemed like the British did not practice what they preached about equality in law. The law favored the British and discriminated against Indians. Over the years, the legal system in British India became more and more expensive, corrupt, and complex.
स्टूडेंट इस एक्टिविटी को आप अपनी कॉपीज में करेंगे, ठीक है। Who were the important people at each level in the judicial system set up by the British? अभी अभी आपने देखा है सेम चीज को, तो इसको आप जो है इस एक्टिविटी को अपने आप करेंगे। क्लियर?